All right, everybody, welcome back to another edition of Collection Conundrum. It has been a long time since we did one of these. I have both Shane and Alton back with us today. We're going to be kind of easing back into this. We're not going to do like a game show or anything like that today. We've just got some questions and answers is what we're going to be focusing on. So we've got some questions that were submitted on the YouTube channels and Instagram. So we're going to go through those. And also we've got some people in the live chat here today. If you are in, go ahead and why don't you say hi and we'll see who we got. Let's see. Winston's been hanging out here for a long time. I don't know if he's still here, but he got here way early. Papa Gritch is here from Quebec. All right. So we got at least 2 Canadians here today. Project Supernova. Good morning, Japan. Yeah, so it's 10 a.m. here in Japan. Let's go, Shane. What time is it over for you?
8 p.m.
8 p.m. for Shane.
And 9 o'clock here in Ontario.
Okay, so we're kind of all over the place. Dr. Bob's Nightmare in the chat as well. Hi, Dr. Bob. Nice to meet you.
Hey.
Why don't we start with just doing some quick wrist checks? What do you guys got on your wrists today? Starting Shane, what do you got?
Let's see. Jack Mason, Dr. Pepper.
Oh, nice.
When I'm trying it on, I've had the strap for a bit. It's like the Zulu Diver Octopod random strap thing. Like it, but it's expensive, where it's sort of this deployant clasp on a NATO.
All right. What do you have the GMT set to?
My local time. So
local time. Okay.
No real point in having it, but
double it up. You know what time it is in military time? All right. Alton, how about you?
Well, I've got a very special watch today because it was gifted to me by a very good friend in Japan. His name is Dave.
Oh, hey, another GMT.
Mercure watch. Yeah, some glare on that. It's UTC. There's a long story behind this watch. I won't go into it today, but suffice it to say that because of Dave's generosity, a grievous wrong was finally righted after about 4 years. So thank you very much, Dave. I've been wearing almost nonstop.
Yeah. I was hoping you're going to wear the Darth Vader watch.
Oh yeah, you wound up with that, right, Alton?
I think my kid destroyed it within 30 seconds.
Oh yeah, that reinforced plastic shell didn't.
Didn't quite the
survive.
Force was not with it.
Yeah. Okay. So let's see. I'm gonna see if I can switch this over. I set up a second camera today. We'll see how this works. Of course, I got to move my mic too.
Fancy.
Okay.
Fancy.
So, yeah, I'm wearing. So we can see this here. This is a Notice Sector Pilot that I recently picked up. Probably the most recent watch that I bought. So this was a special edition. The normal one, which I got one to review, which was great. I really liked it, but the normal one has a countdown bezel. This one has a dual time bezel, which I really wanted. So I've got this set to Central Time because that's what time we said we're starting. So I'd know what time we're supposed to be going. So it's 10 a.m. in Japan. You can see the 8 over there for Central Time. 8 p.m. for all of you guys. Yeah.
That's a great looking watch.
Yeah, Notice is great.
Let's switch back now. Okay, before we jump into questions, let's see who else we got in the chat showing up. Devin Luttrell is here. Steve Graham from California. Chrono Craze from San Francisco. Good. We got a pretty good. Wow, we're up to 40 people. All right.
Lots of names I recognize there, but I want to know about Great Bear Watch Club.
Great Bear Watch Club sounds pretty cool.
How do I join the Great Bear Watch Club? Is it a Polar Bear Watch Club? What is it?
Yeah, so Great Bear Watch Club. Welcome to the chat. If you got any brief information on how to join your club and who's in it, maybe we got at least one new member wants to sign up. We got a couple guys from Florida, George Torres and Squidzuki, Chris Kahn, Toronto. Okay. Rob G. All right. So good crowd. Yeah. So just a reminder what we're going to be doing. We've got some questions from YouTube and Instagram that we posted over the last couple days to get some feedback from you guys. So we're going to go through those first, but anybody here live in the chat, if you have questions about budget watch collecting or watches in general, we will do our best to answer it. If you have questions about yeah, what goes on with running a YouTube channel and that sort of stuff too is all fair game. Yeah, but before we jump into, let's go. Let me just throw one more question to you guys. What's like your latest watch pickups that you guys have gotten? Anything new for your collection that's interesting that you like? If you guys want to think about that, I can show one.
Go ahead.
Okay. All right. So this one I just I got this one to review, but I thought it was a little bit cool. Let me switch back over. So see if you guys can guess what this is going to be.
Casio.
All right. So yeah, we got an edifice. This is actually the first edifice I've ever gotten. And it is
Yeah, I've been curious.
in another box.
I've always liked the look of those more than the G-Shocks.
Oh, you might be onto something here.
Oh, nice.
So this is, I don't know if this is brand new. I think this is a new colorway. I'm pretty sure this is the first time they've done this. I don't know if this is a JDM one, but I picked it up here. But this is, yeah, it looks a lot like a Royal Oak. Also reminds me a lot of the PRX. It's an integrated bracelet.
Yeah.
Quartz watch, sapphire crystal, 100 meters of water resistance. Go ahead and zoom in a little bit more on it. You guys can see that.
I like that. Nice and crisp. Clean.
Yeah, it's super thin. You can see that. It's like 7 millimeters thin, I think.
Oh, wow.
Which is really impressive for 100 meter water resistance. I was surprised at that. And it being a Casio, the second hand hits pretty much every second marker right on. Yeah, so I'll be doing a review on this one. That's what I got it for. We'll see if I wind up keeping it. But yeah, that's the latest thing I got in. I'll leave it like that for now. All right. How about you guys?
Back in, I haven't got too much. I got a few things in for the channel that I haven't really looked at too much. Just kind of bought them and put them away till I have time, like a couple Casios. Got an A1100 kind of on order coming in.
A1100. Which one's that?
That's the really retro 70s one. Because remember, I think I showed, I don't know if I could find it.
Oh, yeah.
Chat,
yeah.
that,
Okay.
I
was tempted by that one. Yeah.
Saw a Facebook post. I don't think I could find it, of somebody who put one of those, if you know what it looks like, on one of Vario's bun straps, and I was just like, I got to try that.
Yeah, that looked really cool.
It looks so cool. I definitely wanted to buy one, but it was about $200 Canadian.
Yeah,
I thought,
yeah. I mean,
that's not quite that committed.
Yeah, I think for this edifice, I think I paid. Well, it was like, what, 20,000 yen, which right now is probably like $150 ish.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but yeah. Anyways, how about you, Alton? What do you got coming in or recent? Recent pickups.
I have not bought a watch in a long time. I can't remember the last time I bought a watch. I've gotten a lot in for review, but I do have something pretty cool. A friend of mine named Dan, Presbyterian minister, about 2 hours from me, lent me in some from his personal collection to review. So I'm pretty excited about these. I'll show you these. This is a Seiko, which you're familiar with.
Oh, yeah. Okay. I thought it was going to be a Zelos, judging by the package.
Yeah. Well, he's got a lot of these Zelos cases. They add up. His addiction is far surpassing mine at this point.
Yeah.
So he's buying. This one's really cool.
Like the San Martin cases, they add up to.
Check out this Seiko here. All right, how do I get it now?
Oh, nice. Is that the Land GMT?
Yeah, cool. It is.
Yeah, that one looked cool.
Really sharp.
It's a little pricey
steeper,
though, right?
I think.
Yeah.
I think that's it. It's a little expensive for what it, but you know what? When you got it in hand, it feels almost worth the money. It's the bracelet that falls short, in my opinion. And then this one here, I've never checked these guys out, but I've always wanted to. And that is Isotope watches.
Oh yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I was just seeing some stuff. Yeah, I like the design. Yeah. Oh, purple.
Yeah. Okay. Really cool. Really cool watch. The dial's great. The case, I'm not 100% sold on, but I really like this watch. Really nice one. So I'll be reviewing those for the next 3 weeks.
Cool.
Okay.
All right. Looking forward to seeing those. We got a couple questions come through. Let me go ahead and flash those up, and we'll see if we can do a quick few answers. Where did we see? Okay. Does anybody know? How about Technomarine watches? I know nothing about them. Shane, Alton, you guys heard of them?
Heard of them. I never really looked at them. Fossil, I know a little bit about. Depends on the watch. I know in the past, like Fossil did a lot of. Well, Fossil made their money. I can't remember the guy's name who started it by basically importing in inexpensive Chinese watches and kind of relabeling them under his own brand. That's how it kind of started. Then they started designing their own watches, and they kind of built up. So now depends. I think they're probably all made in China. Except, well, there was at one point Fossil did make some Swiss movements, all Swiss fossils. It was an experiment that didn't last. I had one at one point. Now I think they just use like Zodiac. I think they might have another Swiss brand for their Swiss stuff.
So they own STP, right?
They own STP. They own Zodiac.
Do they use any STP movements, automatic movements in the Fossil line, or do they say that
when they did
Zodiac?
their Swiss line? They did. It was a really brief period of time. But
so most, if it's a Fossil automatic, it's probably got a Seagull movement or something inside.
They used to. Now they might have some basic Seikos.
Okay.
I haven't seen one in a while.
Yeah, and then Fossil watches, and then in a similar vein, and I don't know anything about the manufacturer in China. What percentage of AliExpress watches are made in the same building? I don't think they're made in the same building, but
same city, I think.
Yeah. Maybe same city, but
I can't remember which.
There's probably a number of different
Shenzhen
factories.
Yeah,
it seems like a lot of them get shipped from there. And for that matter, what percentage of microbrand watches get made in the same building? I think a lot of the I know nothing about the I have no inside information, but my assumption is that a lot of the microbrands are just contracted with some of the same AliExpress brands to produce the watches. Would be my guess.
Yeah.
That those a lot of the AliExpress brands are probably doing orders for microbrands. Any other questions in the chat so far?
Why so many good microbrands come from Singapore?
Is that in there? Okay, where's that one at? Why so many?
Papa Gritch.
I see a why so many. This is what I see, but I guess, there we go. Okay, so maybe he started, okay. There are a lot of good microbrands from Singapore. You got Zelos, Boulder, Vario, RZE. What else? There's a few more, I think, but those are the four big ones. I'm not sure. So my guess, again, no inside information, is that Singapore is in close proximity to China, and a lot of Singaporeans are from Chinese ethnic background, so they speak Chinese. So I think they probably have a very easy time of building a good reputation with the manufacturers in China. It's probably a lot easier to coordinate those things, and I think that gives them a good kind of a good leg up on that. And then apparently you just got some good designers over there that can connect with it. Although it's interesting, I know Vario, they're starting to do more made in Japan watches recently. So they've shifted some of their production from China to Japan, which is kind of cool. I like that because I live over here in Japan. I met Ivan. I was actually just in Singapore briefly I saw Ivan in the airport on the way out from Vario, so it was cool to get to connect with him. I didn't ask him if he speaks Japanese or anything, but I know there's a lot, Japan's a very popular place for people from Singapore to come visit. So I know Travis has said he comes here a lot from RZE. Ivan from Vario says he's been over here. I live way out in the countryside, so nobody ever makes it up to where I'm at in Japan. I'm in the northeastern part in a real small town on the coast, so I never see anybody here. But I've heard that a lot of them come. I
always figured Singapore is sort of where Eastern and Western cultures sort of meet, and it's a wealthy nation, so people got money, and it's just kind of the way where culturally they can speak back with the mainland to get stuff produced, and they still have a lot of Western kind of style. That was my guess.
I think there's a strong technology and design bent too in
Yeah.
Singapore. A
Yeah.
lot of people very comfortable, very creative with technology, very creative and able to use it in interesting ways. And that goes hand in hand with design, and then manufacturing's right next door. So it seems like a no-brainer.
Yeah.
Yeah, and this is okay. Dr. Bob, thank you for the super chat. Let's go ahead and bring that up. Yeah. Definitely push you to the top of the list. Thank you very much. Dr. Bob, I was thinking of exploring budget vintage. Any thoughts on Benrus DTU? I want a military issued one. Benrus DTU. Let's pull that up. Sounds like somebody here is typing away.
Yeah.
If you got it up on your screen, go ahead and do a screen share if you
Oh,
can.
I was looking up something else. Sorry.
Okay. All right, I'll get it.
There's another question I was kind of looking at.
Yeah, which one is the DTU? Okay, we do.
So that looks a lot like a Hamilton khaki
Okay,
or
yeah.
Timex Field.
Let's see. So I'm going to do. This is where we go. Screen 2. There we go. Okay. Yeah, so it is a lot like it. So Benrus, okay, if I remember correctly, they have a history of manufacturing actual watches for the military, right? So this would have been, yeah, kind of a 64. Yeah, originally issued in 64. What's pricing on this one? Okay, so we're in yen here. 76,000 yen. What's that in dollars?
684 Canadian, so it's probably just under
Canadian. Okay, so we got Canadian dollars.
Probably about
Argentina dollars. Where's
$80
US dollars here?
Was he interested in getting one that was actually military issue, like vintage, or like a new one that looks like it?
Yeah. Do you want a vintage one or do you want a recreation?
I can save 10%. Yeah, that's a good question.
Personally, I really love it when a company that was around and made them originally reissues them. I feel like there's a much more stronger tie into history than if Baltony makes them, for example. And I love Baltony watches, but it's just not quite the same.
Yeah. Yeah. So I have not gotten a single vintage watch before. So I don't have a lot of insight into, getting an actual vintage military watch from the 60s as far as the ownership of that, how difficult the maintenance would be and getting it working. I think it would be pretty cool. But yeah, pricing and stuff too. But yeah, I mean, personally, I'd be more comfortable getting the reissue like this. At the reissue, $500, you're getting similar price to Hamilton.
It's got an SW200 in it.
Yeah, SW200 is nice.
Around 40
interesting to see how the loom is, because Hamilton's loom is notoriously subpar.
Yeah.
Assembled in the USA is cool. I like that.
Yeah,
so
in Ohio.
Yeah, that's a sterile dial too. That's interesting.
Yeah, it looks like very like Korean era.
Military, yeah.
So a question for Dr. Bob, is it the tie-in with Steve McQueen that really sells it for you?
Oh, did he wear this one in like Great Escape or something?
He says in the comments, wore one in Bullet. If he's referring to this watch.
Okay.
See, I know that's a huge one. TGV talks about that movie a lot. A lot of people do. I've never seen it.
Yeah,
so I don't know if I'm just a little too young for that or if I'm just not cool enough. Probably the second one.
Okay. All right, let's go ahead and jump into some of the questions that we got posted on YouTube and stuff and start running through those. There's been a few about Chinese brands, and I think we had some. So someone, let's see. Here we go. So Dan was asking, what do you think the future of the Chinese watch industry is? And then we've gotten some other questions. Let's see. Let me go over to.
So are we talking legitimate, unique Chinese watch brands, or are we talking homage, copy watch brands from China?
Yeah, I think both of those are fair game to talk about. But yeah, let me add it. Let's see if we can cover a couple of questions in the same time. So over on the YouTube, Javier Jimenez, this was a comment posted yesterday. Has your exposure to microbrands and Chinese watches changed your perception of the more established and or luxury brands? And then loosely related, but I thought this was also on Instagram. Someone asked, let's see if I can pull up the Instagram here. So on Instagram, somebody asked, so not specifically about Chinese brands, but I think this is really kind of tied to is at what price point do you expect all the basics? And then for basics, he says sapphire crystal, screw links, solid links, and solid end links, which I think, those used to not be the basics in watches up until recently. And that's in large part because of Chinese brands, I think, have kind of made those the basics in a sense. That's what everybody's in. So yeah, let's try it. Let's talk a little bit about that. Future of the Chinese watch industry, how Chinese watches and micro brands have shifted perceptions towards major brands and what we expect out of watches, if we can sort of have a
let's talk about the last part. What I always used to do, like I always said, my channel is more focused on affordable watches, and for me, I always in a lot of ways that term affordable watches is really relative, and I always kind of sort of tried to specify it. And for my channel, I always kind of thought that the top end of affordable watches is where you get all of those expected things and still have like a basic Seiko movement. And over the years, that price has been shifting upwards and upwards, partially because of inflation and other things. Like when I started the channel, I would have said like 350 is the top. Nowadays, I don't know, 450, maybe even 500 is kind of where you would, the top end of where you would expect to see that. Hopefully the lower the better, but who knows, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, I tend to now, affordable is such a relative term, but I tend to try and keep it around 500 or less is for affordable. But like as far as like at what price you expect those things, I mean, so if you turn to a Chinese AliExpress brand, you can get all of those in a $200 watch. You probably more often around 250 or so. San Martin has a lot of watches for around 250 that'll give you sapphire crystal, screw links, solid end links. Now you're getting you might as well throw in tool-free micro adjust clasps now are becoming standard in basics.
Although the question is always, is it fair to compare an AliExpress watch to a Microbrand watch? And that's the question, and that's what gets a lot of people thrown off. And a lot of ways, I think it's because, I mean, the AliExpress brands, if it's an homage watch, they're not putting any money into the design or the research of it. And in a lot of ways, they're also mass producing parts and reusing parts in multiple watches, which is a good, smart business plan. I think that's one of the reasons that Long Island watch, Islander brand, that Mark is able to get stuff out at such great prices because he's reusing cases and a lot of different things. And that's what Seiko does too. It's smart business. But where Microbrands, they're doing like small batches, they can't really get that price point.
Yeah. And again, I think with a lot of the Microbrands using these same manufacturers, it's like the manufacturers, if you buy direct from AliExpress, you're basically buying direct from the manufacturer at the lowest price they can offer. If you're buying from a Microbrand, they've got to pay probably the same manufacturer to make the watch, and then they've got to make a profit on top of it. So obviously the price has to go up in addition to the custom cases and components and the added design that they're putting into it.
And there's people don't like to talk about it oftentimes, the idea that some of those parts might be used in full-on clones or fakes. Like San Martin, one of the things I don't like about what they're doing now, and like I said this in the last review, is like the case back, they're using a Rolex style case back. And it's like, why are you doing that?
Where'd they get those
and the part of that much could be they're mass produced over there, so they get them cheap, and that's partially why you get a lot of value when you buy them. But still,
for me, I really value having sapphire crystal because I'm very clumsy. So I have a hard time spending more than $200-300 for something that doesn't have sapphire, or at least a plexiglass that I can buff out, because there's some nice watches with that on it as well. But at the end of the day, it's about how the watch makes you feel, not necessarily what the movement is or how much it costs. And I mean, let's be honest, if you have a $10,000 luxury watch, it's not $10,000 better than a $150
No.
Timex.
Yeah.
No.
It just isn't. The
Yeah.
watch industry is completely based upon an emotional
Yeah.
attachment. And so, you know, if it feels good to you and you want to spend $800 or $80, go for it.
Yeah. And I think that's one of the interesting things. Like this is like obviously a huge debate about, you know, you've got these Chinese brands that are producing watches that people will argue are as good as the luxury watches because they have sapphire crystal, solid links, solid end links, you know, all of these things, you know, decent finishing and all of that. And then and then obviously you have people who are into luxury watches are just, you know,
Annoyed.
can't stand that. But you know, I think, you know, one of the interesting kind of ways to look at it um is that when you're talking about, you know, what draws you to that. I think, you know, I think they're kind of both coming from an emotional standpoint in a
Mhm.
way. I think that a lot of times the people who are interested in these, you know, Chinese watches that have such amazing specifications for the price, um, that's the story about this watch is like, I've got an
Yeah.
amazing watch for a great price. And that's a story. That's the kind of emotional thing that draws them. There might even be a sense of, you know, of like, here's a watch that kind of, you know, pokes fun at the absurdity of these high priced watches. You know, this watch here is showing that, you know, I can get something just as good for a fraction of the cost, and yet there's other people that are spending, you know, thousands and thousands of dollars, and they're not really getting anything more. And that's the story of that watch. Versus people who are often into the luxury watches, you know, they're interested in the heritage and the
Mhm.
history and the movements that are inside of them and the precision that goes into building them, and that becomes the story and the
Yeah.
draw. Obviously, I think the biggest difference for, you know, between people with interest in those is the, you know, amount of money that you have. If you like, I could never buy a luxury watch, so I'm not as interested in them because it's just not going to be there. But yeah, I think that's, you know, in my mind, that's kind of the thing is, um, yeah, I think everybody has this sort of story about watches that they're latched onto. And that's sort of what drives them. You know, for me, when it comes to like the specs to the price and stuff, I was really interested in that for a while, especially when I first started getting into watches.
Mhm.
But I started to find, you know, I'd get really inexpensive watches with good specs, but the design oftentimes didn't really speak to me that much, and I didn't
Yeah.
really enjoy wearing them. It's like, okay, so it's cool. It's got a sapphire crystal. It's got a great build quality. It's got incredible lume, but I just don't really like wearing the watch. Whereas, you know, I'd get like a Seiko, which has Hardlex crystal, which is super annoying. I get that. I don't, you know,
Mhm.
they should be putting sapphire, but oftentimes be like, well, this is actually, I really enjoy wearing this more because it's got a good design. Because it's, for me, it's got an emotional connection living here in
Yeah.
Japan. I respect having one, you know, from here. And some of these, again, emotional things sort of make it more enjoyable to wear, even though it is, you know, under spec for the
Not as
price.
good, so to speak. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So I think it's this kind of this whole, yeah, I think it's a weird conversation, but yeah, you kind of go all over the place with this.
Yeah. I mean, at
Well,
the end of the day,
sometimes
yeah. Go ahead.
sometimes you'll see a luxury watch and you've been wanting to see it forever. They're hard to find at a store. Somebody lends you one and you're kind of underwhelmed. And you go, you know, oh, it's well, the gentleman who posed this question is my friend Dan, who actually lent me these watches. My very own Mr. X, I guess. And so he showed me his tutor, and I thought, you know, I'm more interested to see that isotope actually
Yeah.
than I am that and that Seiko. So, you know, the financial aspect of it doesn't really matter. But the Chinese watch industry is definitely driving down prices and making people have to compete even harder.
The problem with that though is I've noticed a lot of micro brands are going up in price. Like some of the older, more established ones, seems like they're all coming out with watches that are closer and closer to a grand.
And so is
And I've heard a lot
AliExpress
of
too.
complaints
They're
about
running up in price.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I think for the micro brands though, it's a couple of things going on with that. Is more one, I think it's they're trying to prove themselves. Like they started out, a lot of these good micro brands started out as in like the budget sphere, and they don't necessarily want to do that again. They want to prove that they can do better, and they're looking to separate themselves out from the pack. But a lot of it is also, I think, just rising prices and inflation. But that has annoyed quite a few Microbrand fans when they see something new come out and it's like $1,000 when, 3 years ago that brand started with a $300 watch.
Well, it used to be the best value on the market, but now you can
Mm.
get that through AliExpress, get all the specs you want and a good watch. And some of them are even original these days.
Getting
So
close, yeah.
the future of the microbrand, I think, has to be in originality, has to be in that uniqueness. And I also think people are getting kind of tired of that whole we've got history tie in. My great grandfather was a veteran or something. I think that creativity of the brand is going to play into that. Look at Studio Underdog, and they're selling it fast with pizza watches. People are kind of looking for something unique in that area.
Let's go ahead and throw this one in there too. Do you feel with microbrands in particular that a lot of brands are increasing the standard level of features, makes their watches feel too similar to each other in addition to driving prices up? Seraph asked that.
To some extent, yeah. I mean, if it's like a more standard dive watch, yeah. Although I haven't really been looking at those. Like, well, I don't know if you can see this. I can't really show you that. This is the new one from Ikigai.
Okay.
Who does like they've been doing really
Yeah. Is that the turtle one?
Yeah, this is the one that's kind of modeled after a turtle.
Yeah, but more turtle than the turtle. Yeah.
Yeah. So there isn't much else that looks like this, and that's some of the microbrands that are doing that is, I think, the great side of things. Whereas actually somebody said some comment about going to Long Island Watch. Yeah, Mark has some great prices. That he has in some ways he almost has too many watches. They're hard to pick from.
Yeah.
It's hard to keep up with what he's doing. Yeah, that's the comment. Really cool, really good loom. I'm hoping to have a review out. I think the Kickstarter goes live April 2nd. So, but yeah, that's a watch that's doing something totally different. Whereas some other brands, when they're just doing kind of standard divers, yeah, they do start to kind of all look the same.
Yeah. Well, we're talking about Chinese watches. Let me show you guys one more that I've got coming up. That talking about back to the future of Chinese watches. We've been talking a lot on the really budget end, but this one. It's an interesting one from more higher end, I guess. I'm sure it's clean.
Oh, the central.
Yeah. So this is a Peacock Central Tourbillon. I never thought I'd ever have a tourbillon watch into review, but here we go.
Yeah.
So they charge, I think, around $3,000 for this.
Yeah.
And it's largely because of the movement. So Peacock was known more for their movements. They've recently they have, in fact, I was looking at the history, they have made watches for a long time, but I think they've been making more of a push recently to build watches around their movements. This one is, so they're known for making some of the best Chinese tourbillon movements. This one being a central tourbillon, a little bit more difficult to manufacture. It's also got, I think, 120 hours of power reserve. It's a hand wound, so 4 barrels in there.
Oh wow.
So kind of, yeah, it's a pretty high end movement. And then obviously they put in this really crazy looking case and stuff to sort of show that off. But they call this one the black hole. So it'll be interesting to do a review of this one, because this is not normally my thing. But yeah, it was really impressive. Like, I think like with the Chinese tourbillons are coming out more and more now. You see a lot of them in the $1,000 range. So to see one in the $3,000 range, I was a little bit skeptical of what the difference is, but yeah, it's a pretty, let's see if you can see the case back too here. If we can get in there. Yeah, nicely finished and stuff. But yeah, so this is something that I think it's not the sort of thing I would normally look at, but it's interesting to see things like this, because this is it's in a weird spot where for $3,000 you're competing with like Tudor and some of the sort of entry level luxury brands, and you're obviously not getting the same level of finishing I think you would get with those. This one's more for the movement. So it's like this is putting out a movement that you would normally find in Swiss watches costing tens or thousands or hundreds of thousands of dollars at way cheaper. But then it's still, because it's a really expensive and difficult to manufacture movement, it's still pushing into a price that's competing with the entry level Swiss luxury watches. So
that reminds me of I think I might have told you this when I had that Ergon Tourbillon to review. Or maybe I mentioned it in the review too. It's like I showed it to my wife and I'm like, check this out. This is something you only see in watches that are like $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 kind of thing. And I'm look, and she's like, what? It just moves around. She was not impressed at all.
Exactly.
And I'm like, yeah,
you get it.
Yeah, that's kind of what it does.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, that's the thing. Like if you're what happened here? My virtual camera's all screwed up now.
Yep.
Oh, you know what I'm doing? I'm sharing my screen. There we go. Okay. I meant to be over here. Okay. All right. So any final thoughts on Chinese watches before we move on to some of the other questions?
I think it's good. I think it's pushing design and it's pushing the industry further. So what it's filling a place of what microbrands, independent microbrands are doing 10 years ago. Yeah. So I see it as a healthy thing.
Yeah. And part of the thing too is it helps out, like even if you hate homage watches, if you have a friend asking like, hey, what should I buy? They don't really care about like the history or the hot horology or any of that stuff. It's like, I just want a good value watch. It's hard to ignore like what they're doing. It's like, yeah, for $100 you can get, an Addis dive or whatever, or 200, 300, you can get a San Martin, and it's everything you could want in a watch.
And you can't get a Seiko. Well, I guess you can, but not a lot of good Seikos now for $200 like you used to be able to.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're pretty much limited to the Seiko 5 Sports on the gray market.
Yeah.
Great Bear Watch Club. Do you guys think Seiko makes more selling movements or their own watches now? That's a good question.
That's a complicated question, because the thing is, if you look at the structure of Seiko, it's real complicated. There's not just one Seiko. Like Seiko Epson, which is Orient, makes a lot of the Seiko NH35 movements for Seiko and for other people. So, and I don't know exactly how that's all structured, because there's a lot of different divisions and.
Yeah, my gut tells me they still make more selling their own watches, but their movements are everywhere.
Yeah.
That's like it kind of goes like that argument, is Seiko really losing out if someone's making a Seiko homage with a Seiko movement in it? It's still
I'd be curious to know how many microbrands use Seiko versus Miyota, because it used to be almost all Seiko, but
Miyota's getting more and more
surged in the last little while. It was that new GMT by Seiko that tipped it back to Seiko.
Yeah, but then Miyota fired right back with their true GMT, which is, I don't think that, I'm not seeing that one used as much because it's more expensive.
It looks great, but no one's using it.
Yeah, well, I'm starting to see it in a few.
Which one was that again?
Jack Mason. They're one of the first ones to have it. Bear has it. They're more and more coming, but yeah, it is more expensive compared to the NH34.
Yeah,
but arguably better movement depending on your point of view.
Yeah, the date is still a little bit annoying.
But you can go backwards.
Yeah, the back. Yeah, so it does comp. Which is cool. That is cool.
Yeah.
Trying to scan through if there's been any more questions. Okay, let's see. Let's go ahead and jump back over to YouTube for a minute and let's try and get through a few of those. So just going from the top comments there. Number one, how do you all as watch reviewers balance wearing your new review watches and your own personal collections? So, yeah. Alton, how about you?
I don't tend to wear review watches out of the house. So I wear them around just kind of watching TV. I'm afraid of scratching them, wrecking them somehow. And also, okay, here's a little dirty secret, everybody. Dust is so bad for video shoots. So you try to get it out, and if it's a brand new watch, shoot it before it gets dinged up, scratched up, dusty, and then wear it. So you want to wear it because you want to see how it feels, but you also have to respect that it's not your watch and it's moving along somewhere else. So outside the house, it's almost always my own watch.
Yeah, my habit it's just frustrating for where my watches I buy for myself versus ones I'm just buying for reviewing is no matter what, when it comes in, I don't wear it until I get like the macro footage.
Yeah.
Once I get that, I'll wear it, but that's priority. Even if it's something I've been dying to buy and dying to wear.
Yeah.
It might take a few days before I get that footage, but I won't touch it just because
smudges,
dust. Yeah.
Do you ever want to shoot an unboxing video so you have the watch sitting there in a box you're just dying to do? You guys don't really do too many
Not too
unboxings, but
much.
I've had that situation where I
Yeah.
just want to open it so bad.
Yeah, when
Yeah.
I mean, I always cheat on unboxing videos. They're never the
True.
first time I've unboxed it. I rebox it and then unbox it live on the camera. There's my dirty secret.
Okay.
Is this
No.
confession time, Dave?
Yeah, no. So if you ever see an unboxing video on my channel, it's not the first time it's been. I'm unboxing the watch. I mean, it's just not the first time it's been
But it
unboxed.
is hard time too. Like for me, it depends on what's going on with the review schedule. Like
Yeah.
if I have a bunch of stuff that needs to come out sooner than later because of agreements I may have made with a brand. But sometimes it'll be a while before I wear one of my own watches. So I want to make sure I get good enough wrist time with one of those. And on vacations for me, it's tricky too, because I always want to like take stuff I'm going to be reviewing so I can get some great like real world shots. But I don't always do it.
Yeah. But yeah, as far as the question goes, I'm same thing. I try not to wear a watch until I've filmed it first, the close-ups first. But as far as balancing that with my personal collection, yeah, it kind of comes and goes. Like it depends on how many watches I have in and that I'm working on reviews. Sometimes I'll go what feels like weeks without wearing any of my personal watches, where I'm just always got a review watch on. But then sometimes I'll go back and do it. But yeah, that is one of the hard things. Like you want to wear the watches that you own and like, but then if you're trying to do reviews, you have to kind of test out the ones that you're reviewing. So yeah, it's a fun problem to have. I'm not going to complain about it, but it is a little bit annoying sometimes. I saw another interesting. Oh, okay, I like this one. Can we finally can the true GMT? I think he's saying, can we get rid of the true GMT? There's color and there's travel, and that's cool enough. Yeah,
No.
I don't like the true GMT terminology either.
I don't like it, but I use it because
I do
it's
too. Yeah.
more common, and
Right. Yeah.
that's part of the problem. Is it's the lexicon of watch collectors, and you got to change everybody.
Yeah.
Because like if you put Traveler's GMT in the title or a thumbnail of a video, it's not going to get near as many clicks as true.
Right. Yeah.
Even though I disagree with the term, it sounds snobby.
Yep.
And I think that's probably the origin of it, but you just got to go with what people use.
Yeah.
The more common saying.
Yeah, I'm same here. I'll use if that's one of the main interesting draws of the watch, I'll put true GMT in the title and the
Although I do try to
thumbnail.
throw Travelers in there. I'll say true or Travelers, kind of try to put them.
Yeah, when I do on camera and stuff. But no, for like the clicks and the thumbnails and things, true's a catchy word that I think draws people in more. So I'll use it for that. But yeah, I would prefer Travelers and color. I don't know if I like call. I mean, I guess color's okay. I just color. It's a weird word. I'm never quite sure what exactly that means.
I've got a question for you that was sent to me through Instagram.
Okay,
Dave, what is the best place to buy pieces sold in Japan exclusively?
Best places to buy pieces sold in Japan exclusively. See, now that's a very difficult question for me to answer because I'm in Japan already. So I buy almost all of my watches from Amazon. I just order them from Japan, and they're all the JDM watches are for sale there. And part of that's because I live out in the boonies, so there's no other place for me to really go other than online shopping. It's that or Rakuten has a lot of Japanese watches here. But yeah, as far as best place to buy them outside of Japan, I think one trick is you can oftentimes buy them from a Japanese Amazon. So if you go to amazon.co.jp, see if the seller will ship internationally, and oftentimes that would be the least or like the cheapest way to get it. As far as how you would handle returns or something, you might be a little bit more difficult with that, trying to do an international Amazon return. I don't know how that would go, but that would be the cheapest, I think. If you go with an exporter, so like I've worked with Discovery Japan, they've sponsored a few of my videos, and One of the reasons I keep using them is because I've gotten a lot of comments from people saying that they use them, they really like them, they had good customer service, they had a good experience. So I've never ordered from them outside Japan because I can't. I live in Japan, so I don't have any personal experience ordering from them. But people that have seen the video that they sponsored and then ordered through them have commented and said they had a good experience. So I keep recommending them for that.
Always eBay.
Yeah, eBay. Yeah, you can always get a lot on eBay too. Which, yeah, yeah.
Maybe
again,
someone can put that in the chat if they have any good.
Yeah, if you guys, I think that's
resources.
always the best. Yeah, is if you can find other people who have ordered internationally like that.
Honestly, I would just call it Dave, have him buy it and ship it to me.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
like we've both done that a couple times.
Yeah, Dave's my main source.
Yeah.
So everybody just contact Dave.
Yeah. Okay.
Start your own business.
Thanks, guys. Yeah. Right. Yeah. I'll start.
All right. I have another question.
Okay.
For you guys. This is and this is from Rob G. He's been in the chat. I think he's still here. Is the new Omega Speedmaster in white worthy of the hype? Have you seen the
Oh yeah, I was seeing that.
Not the Snoopy one, the real one, right?
The Swatch one.
Yeah.
The Swatch one.
The Swatch one or the real new Speedmaster in white? There's two new white.
There's two. I want to talk about the Swatch one and the real one. He doesn't specify. I think he's talking about the real one, which doesn't excite me at all.
I mean, I'm not a huge fan of Speedmasters in general. I mean, I know why people love them. I know why people want them, and it's almost like standard progression as a watch collector to get a Speedmaster. But I just never really had much interest in.
There we go. Sorry.
Well, it's just kind of one of these things where now it's in white and everyone's freaking out, and Instagram is filled for a week with white.
Yeah. Well, it's like when the Black Bay came out in blue. It's like a Rolex changes 1 millimeter in one of their dimensions, and suddenly there's like 50,000 videos on it.
But they can't change the recipe that much. They just change the color. Everybody freaks out.
Yeah.
But I am interested in the white Swatch collab with the Snoopy.
Yeah. I kind of like it, but I'd prefer a panda, like if a full panda.
That's kind of where I was going. So I saw, if this is a special edition, I think from 2018, when I was looking at the white Speedmaster, I was thinking, my first thought was, oh, it'd be cool if they would have done full loomed, which would, that's, I don't know how that would have worked out, but I don't think they've done a full loop one. But then I wonder, well, how would it look in a panda? And they had done some special edition pandas. I like this a lot better.
Yeah. Although, correction, the one Speedmaster I am minorly obsessed with is the real Snoopy one. But I'm not going to pay that much for one.
The silver Snoopy with the case back where he's flying around the moon.
Yeah, I think resale on that's almost like 20 grand now or something. It's like, no, there's no way I'm getting that.
Did Pagani make the white Speedmaster before Speedmaster did?
I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, it sounds like it, right? I don't know. Okay. I don't know what to search for there. It's Pagani white Speedmaster. Oh, so they did a panda. Oh, is this one? Is this no, that's actual Omega.
Yeah.
Anyways. Yeah.
There's a good question. Is Firelord Zuko, is Zelos moving up market with their recent higher prices or now just charging accordingly for their quality? I would say they're not. Well, I don't know. I haven't been looking at as many Zelos. I mean, every once in a while they come out with a more expensive one. If you're talking about like the Eagle and their 9075 GMTs, those are sort of special circumstances. But have they been moving up with their regular divers? I guess that would be the real question. Because they have had like their full chronographs, but past that were what, a couple grand?
Yeah. Speaking of Zelos,
break out the
I'll get out. So this is a good example, I think, to look at here.
And for the price, that's actually extremely great for a 97.5.
Right?
It was like what, $600?
It's 500 for their introductory price. So this is a Mako. So it's their dive watch, but it's a GMT. So the Mako is their 40 millimeter dive watch. It's kind of been their sort of premium one. They used to, I think it originally started with Swiss movements. They now do.
Well, that was a Spearfish GMT. That was
a 95.
The Mako was always.
I think like the Mako. I think the Mako 1 or 2 was actually they used some.
Oh, maybe
Solitas way back when.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, definitely with the Mako 3, they switched to Miyota.
Yeah.
So this one, I think I think it's like $549. This one just sold. They actually had this one. They did a big run, so these are still available right now on their website. So it's a Miyota 9075. So it's a true. Here I go. True GMT movement. Traveler's GMT movement.
Yeah.
Sapphire crystal. I think it's sapphire bezel. Thing I love about them is their bidirectional GMT bezels. 48 click. I mean, that's like the best GMT bezel of any watch that I've checked out. Everybody does either the friction or they go with like 120 click dive bezel. Excellent loom, solid links, screw links. Here we go. The quick release, or not quick release, quick release spring bars, yes, but the one of the better tool-free micro adjust implementations. So I mean, for everything that they're giving you here at around $550 for a true GMT for a automatic Traveler's GMT, true GMT watch, that's not up market. I don't think that's still well under market value for what you would typically pay.
Jack Mason, I think, is about $1,000.
Yeah,
and a lot of the 9075s are like 800.
Yeah, this one's 300 meters of water resistance. Big sapphire crystal. Pretty cool stuff there.
Surprised,
but
yeah,
it took them a little bit longer this time. But they
and the last one was the Eagle too, which is one I reviewed.
Right, so that's more.
That was more expensive, but that's because of the movement.
I think they've been, it's, as far as the maybe the perception of them being up market comes from them creating these more expensive model lines. The classic model lines like the Mako and the Swordfish and the Hammerhead, those are, I think those have gone up a little bit, but that's primarily, I think, mostly just kind of kept up with inflation. I don't think they've shot up that much. I think they're still pretty affordable for what they're offering, but a lot of their new models are more in the more expensive ones. So
and I do wonder if they're getting worried because the last two ones haven't sold out real quick.
Yeah, it's a weird thing. It's like if they don't sell out in the first 5 minutes, everyone's like, oh, Zelos has lost their touch. But I don't know, like, if it takes a week to sell out your
I did notice one really interesting thing. Because in the past, like on Facebook, I saw an ad for the Mako new Mako GMT before, or right when it was released. And in the past, it seems like they've been making like a Facebook ad video based on all the reviews. This is the first one I've seen where it was pre-made by them, not just using review footage. And I was like, huh.
Yeah, maybe they're making some moves behind the scenes, but I
think it really shows that you can't win as a brand owner, because when you sell out in 30 seconds, everyone is up in arms. They're upset.
Right. Yeah.
Like, oh, everyone's reselling at double the price. Now they've still got 30 or 40 left over after a week, and people are like, they're done. Nobody should buy them again. They suck. You can't win.
Okay, so I got another question that's going back to the moon watches. Would you rather have the new Moon Swatch Mission to Moon Phase or a Sugis? Is
that the real
Moon
name?
Phase Master with the ST 1908? So I'm assuming. So I'm the Moon Swatch Mission to Moon Phase. Is that the Snoopy one?
Sounds like it.
Sounds like it. So that would be, I'm guessing this is the one he's talking about.
Which isn't much of a Snoopy. There's just like Snoopy sleeping and the 24-hour dial.
On the 24-hour
dial. Although it's kind of cool if you look at the loom underneath.
Oh yeah, that is really cool.
It's got a little bit of writing there, a little text.
Yeah. Is that this one here? Yeah, I think that. And then I think the one he's comparing it to,
which in some ways is good that it's subtle, because not everybody wants to wear like a cartoon watch.
I found a YouTube video. I think this is the one he's talking about. I'm not sure. Everyone go check out Tone on YouTube. Thank you for making a video about this watch. But I think this is the Sugis that he's talking about. But Sugis makes a bunch of moon phase watches, but I think this is the one. So if this has presumably a Seagull ST 1908, he's saying, which I'm guessing would be just the version of the Seagull chronograph with the moon phase on it. Yeah, what would you guys take? Would you guys take the Chinese Sugus manual wind chronograph, or the plastic Snoopy Speedmaster on the dial Swatch watch? Probably similar price.
They're probably the same price. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, like, the gap in materials is pretty crazy as far as, this is one's a plastic toy watch and the other one
I'll take
pretty nice, honestly.
the Snoopy just for resale value.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, honestly, I'm not that interested in either one of them. I'm not a I just haven't had much luck with the Seagull manual wind chronograph movements. They like more than half of the watches that I've gotten with that movement have had weird movement problems within the first year, with, like, especially the chronograph hand jumping around all over the place. So I'm not a big fan of that movement. I think it's super cool that there is one like that available. And from what I've heard, I know, like, Baltic uses it and some of the other brands.
Yeah.
I've heard if you service the movement and you get a good one, it can be a good running one. But I think if you're going straight from AliExpress, a lot of the movements that they're getting are the lower quality ones.
I think this ties into another question somebody asked about whether the PT5000 movements were good or not. And I think it's kind of the same question of, I think from a design perspective, they're both great because, I mean, they're both based on older proven designs, but they're finicky and they need to be put together right, as well as having the right parts. Like, there's not a lot of wiggle room in terms of tolerances. And I think that's kind of where they sometimes screw up.
Yeah, are they being assembled and just chucked into a bin and then slapped into a case?
Yeah, it's kind of like I would say like a Porsche. Like, or at least I've always heard. I never owned a Porsche, but, like, they need to be serviced. There's very tight tolerances that if you don't do it, that's why Porsches break down a lot. But if you do it right, they're great.
Here's my experience with the PT5000. I got a was this escapement time fleeper.
Okay.
And I got the PT5000 version. Which, when I ordered it, it worked for about a week, and then after that it stopped working. And I looked in the back, and there was a screw had come loose and was just jamming the rotor, so the rotor couldn't turn anymore, so it couldn't turn. And yeah, that was my first experience with the PT5000. But that was, so I contacted Escapement Time, and they actually told me to send it back into them, and they fixed it and sent it back to me. It took like 2 months, I think. But I was super impressed with Escapement Time for doing that, because I had always considered one of the downsides of the AliExpress watches is I don't expect to get really any after sales service for the price that you're paying.
They may be the exception to that. Because I always heard that it's like one guy or a couple people that do Escapement Time, and it's not like the other brands.
Yeah, he got on the chat with me and was asking questions, and I sent him pictures and stuff. And he fixed it. So I was very happy with that. And so since I've gotten this one back, since he fixed it, I haven't had any problems with it. So yeah, I don't know. That's my experience with the PT5000. I like the idea. It seems like to take the, they're doing the same. They're doing
the same thing everybody does. I mean, it's copying the ETA movement. And I don't know if you know, like SAO movements, TSAO out of Baltimore. They're working with somebody now to make their own clones in Baltimore, and they're putting them in some of their pro diver watches.
Clones of the 2824?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah,
I can't remember what
they're American made ones. So are they buying the parts? And then
I think they're buying the parts and assembling. They're assembling them in Baltimore, and
like
probably
an American
making as much
assembled,
as they can.
Which honestly, I mean, again, I think that's a pretty important part of the movement manufacturing. Like, I mean, if you've got someone who's actually inspecting the parts and putting it together well and lubricating everything, and that's probably going to be a bigger deal than where the actual individual movement parts are being manufactured. If you get a good manufacturer, and then I think when you're assembling and stuff, there might be some finishing and stuff.
Hand file them down, or maybe
adjust everything. If you've got a skilled watchmaker who's doing it, that's I think going to be more make a bigger difference than exactly where the parts are manufactured. Someone asks thoughts on Islander watches. And then I think I got a question on Instagram. Someone asked, most underrated brand under $500. And I was thinking about it. For me, like I don't know, but like Islander has been, I'm still not even on the screen. Islander's been on my radar. I really like what they've been putting out. And for me, I think they're one of the most interesting brands under $500.
Yeah.
That's kind of underrated. Yeah. That people don't, that's not as popular. I mean, I think Orient's kind of the go-to one in that, but they're becoming so well known now. I don't know if I would say they're underrated anymore.
And Mark's a great guy, great customer service, just for other stuff I bought from him.
Yeah, I've been really impressed with a lot of the watches that he's been putting out lately. At least on paper.
I've a lot of work. Puts a lot of work into the design. He puts a lot of thought into it. And I don't know I don't know what kind of team he works with. I know originally I think it was just basically him, but they're always putting out new models. Some are really good looking. There's a sticking point for me though, and I've had a couple Islander watches, and I love Mark. I don't like the logo on the watch. Me from buying a number of watch, and Mark is unapologetic. That's my logo. I love it.
He likes the logo.
Same with Phoebus. I don't own any of them because I don't like the octopus thing, and that's that could be me. But I really like what they're doing over there.
No shame in that. I mean, a lot of people never got Christopher awards just because they hated the name on the dial.
Yeah, and I have one and love it with the name on the dial. So.
And now it looks like a QR code. So I don't know.
Yeah. So this one from Islander, I really like this one. This is what they're doing with the Greenport 39 with the 12-hour bezel. I think that the date came out super cool, doing the vertical date like that. That's really unique. I like the use of colors, the handset. I like the 12-hour bezel. 39mm size. Yeah, this is something it's very interesting. It's not doesn't look like anything else out there. So I saw him release that. I was really impressed. And I'm also really impressed at the pace at which he's releasing watches now. He's got so many models coming out.
It's almost overwhelming in terms of what he's got.
Yeah, it is. It really is. And this is a lot of cool colors on this one too. Like this. I wouldn't go for pink, but I think this actually looks pretty good.
One of my favorite things to do is when Mark puts out his sales, and he'll do that Black Friday, that kind of thing. He'll say something like, we're putting this one normally 400, selling it for 180 because I've got 200 laying around. Nobody wanted to buy them.
He's got to get rid of the stock. I just, give me the one no one else wanted. I'll take it.
Yeah.
It's so refreshing to hear somebody.
I think it's his engineering background.
Honestly, it's crazy.
No, but I mean those are the watches that you often get the best deals on. If you're into affordable watches, those are the kinds of things you're looking at. You want, you want the ones that they weren't good enough to sell for $1,000, but they'll sell for $500. It's like, okay, so I'm getting something that probably that means that the design wasn't appealing to people, but as far as the build and quality goes, it's probably would have been on par with. Yeah,
I mean that's partially why I got my champagne Hamilton khaki king, because everybody not many people wanted the champagne version.
Yeah,
they wanted the black dial version, so I found a really great deal on it.
More, you might even like that colorway better.
Yeah,
here's an interesting colorway.
I really like the colors.
I like it. Yeah, I like that. But I've never seen anything else. I wouldn't have even thought to put those colors together, but that's cool. Is that? I'm curious. Is that a loom dial too on top of all that?
And what's crazy to me is I don't know if you guys
it's not. Okay.
keep up on some of the Facebook microbrand groups of how they're so controlling on what's a microbrand, what's not a microbrand. And I still don't think they consider Mark a microbrand, because originally it was all like super clones of like the SKX.
Yeah. That's how he started, right?
It's like, look at all this stuff. It's like these
there's good original designs, and I'd be curious how he's manufacturing, or
the very least these are original. It's like, come on,
like he's probably doing the dials, but maybe like the bezels and cases and bracelets might be from other watches.
I'm sure he's reusing certain parts from things, but that's a smart business
ones.
play.
But
Microbrands
that's the
do the
only way you can.
exact same thing. They don't always design everything from the ground
Most of
up.
them,
They can
yeah,
afford
most
to.
microbrands, yeah, they're
No,
they're kind
you
of
get a
piecing together.
catalog. Which bezel do you want? There's 18 bezels. You pick
Mhm.
one. You order
Right.
500. You move
Yeah,
on to
and
the case.
that's the that's the hard thing about watches in the under $500 price point, because if you want to have a watch that's got custom designed handsets, a custom designed case, and all that, yeah, maybe
gotta
it's
pay for
got,
it.
maybe just like everything else, it's got a sapphire crystal and screw links and all that, and you can get a a Pagani design for $100 that has those same features, but it costs money to make a custom case, custom handset,
Yeah.
custom dial to do a limited run.
I had a
Yeah,
brand owner tell me something once that I thought was really interesting. I'm not going to say who it is, but he told me he used to work in one of the big fashion watch companies as a designer, and he said something once that a lot of the fashion watches that people like the enthusiasts love to hate upon, that were made over in China, those parts, those molds, that's kind of what a lot of the micro brands are built off of. These
yeah.
old watches that, people hated upon, but those parts are still around and people are sometimes picking those to put in their
That's
watches
interesting.
now.
Yeah. So all right, let's go through a few more YouTube questions, see how many of these we get. Phoebus Shark Shrink the narwhal, and now I want one. Smaller watches are coming back, right? Are they, guys? There's smaller watches coming back?
Depends on who you talk to.
Yeah, I'm starting to feel like bigger watches are starting to come back again
It,
now. It's like
the,
going back and forth.
kinda, because the thing is, I don't know. It's kind of the thing, like enthusiasts, at least the vocal enthusiasts,
Yeah.
are always vocal about make it smaller, make it smaller, make it
Yeah.
smaller. But the thing is, sometimes you look at like Seiko, and some of the Swiss brands are finally starting to do that. But like you look at Seiko, they don't care. It's like 43, 44, whatever,
Yeah.
I mean, look at some of the grand Seikos. I mean, they have a few smaller ones, but most of those are like 40, 41. I mean, I think the Snowflake is like a 42 or something, or maybe it's a 41.
Yeah. Like
But I
my
do remember not too long ago, a 40 millimeter watch was considered a fairly small watch, and
Mhm.
now it's definitely considered on the higher end for a
Yeah.
lot of brands. A lot of
Yeah,
people.
for some people at least. That's that, and that's the trick. Sometimes is that what's going on, or is it just the most vocal people?
Yeah. I mean,
And
so
that's always
That's a good point.
again, my gut feeling on this, I don't know anything to back it up. But my read would be, I think we, the watch industry went through some weird phases in the last 10 years. For a while it was this fashion watch thing was driven by big watches, was
Mhm.
like, and that was like a fashion statement. It didn't really have anything to do with people who are interested in watches. This was, you know, general public. It was fashionable to wear large watches, and that fashion side of thing was really driving the watch industry. And then I think it was, with the rise of smartwatches, got a lot of people interested in actually wearing watches again. And then you started to have more enthusiasts having more of a voice. And so I think we're getting to the point now, whereas, yeah, you had these giant watches, then you had a lot of new people coming into the hobby, and then sort of this backlash of like, oh, we need to get back to the small watches.
Mhm.
And now I think we're just to a point where we've got so many people are interested in the hobby. Some people like big watches and some people like small watches, and brands are having to cater to both. And
Yeah.
they're realizing, hey, if you make a good watch, there's a market for people who are interested in larger size watches and smaller size watches. So we're seeing more choice come out now, I think
I
is
think it's
where
going to be
we're
like a
at.
pendulum.
Yeah.
Like we have had so many people being vocal that the microbrands who are paying attention to what people are saying are starting to make smaller and smaller.
Yeah.
And we're starting to see more and more 36 millimeters. And I think at some point we're gonna have a lot more 36, and then some people are like, okay, this is too much. Let's go back to like 40-ish or something. I'm happy with a 40. That's kind of what I like the best. But I do have some like 38s and things that are also comfortable too. To me, I want a variety. I don't want everything small, and I don't want everything big. I like some watches that are small and some watches that are big, depending on how I'm feeling.
This was a
Yeah, and it all
microbrand I
depends.
recently got in. So this is Gavix. And this is, I
Yeah, I
think it's
like
like
that
a
one. It's
43.
striking.
Yeah, I was surprised that they went with that size, because again, I felt like most microbrands were following this trend of smaller watches. But they did this one in 43, and it'd been a while since I'd gotten one that large in, and I really liked it. I think it
Mhm.
wears wears well. I think it was a
Yeah.
43.
And I think it depends on the design too. I mean, some watches look better smaller, some are
Yeah.
bigger, better wider.
Yeah, so let me put it on wrist here real quick.
Yeah.
So I have a 7.5-inch wrist.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, it looks great.
yeah, I think it looks perfect for that size, proportions, and everything. A little bit dusty. Hang on.
Mhm.
And then, yeah. But yeah, it's much bigger than like this Notice. I think is a 39. You can
Yeah,
see
probably.
really big difference. But I can wear the Notice too. So
And then you can wear a 48 millimeter smartwatch, and no one
right.
seems to bat an eye, or
Yeah.
a giant
Yeah.
G-Shock, and it doesn't seem to matter.
Yeah. And that's always the funny thing is you have a lot of people who, hate analog or hate regular quartz analog watches, but then they have a lot of G-Shocks. And the same with like size. They'll keep saying smaller, but then they got, giant G-Shock.
Right. That's a good segue. Another question that came up was, what's the biggest and smallest watches in your guys' collections? So I think technically the biggest I have is this Bulova Lunar Pilot, which currently the battery's dead, so I was getting ready to change it, but I haven't yet.
Yeah.
But I don't have nothing. But I think this is a 45, right?
I
This is the
think
original?
so. Yes, I think the smaller one's like 43 or something, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, 45. So the 45 millimeter would be the biggest I've got.
Yeah. See, for me, I think it depends. If you count my Garmin, I think it's like a 45.
Right. Yeah. Maybe. Okay. So yeah, I've got some G-Shocks that might be bigger than 45.
But regular or collectible watches, I think probably my Orient Star diver is like a 43. I might have or my Zelos Abyss 3. I can't remember if that's 44 or 43. Okay. That's a huge watch.
So here,
are we counting G-Shocks? So how big is that one?
Here's 50.
Oh, yeah.
50.
50. Well,
Yeah,
I've
there
got
you
that
go.
one too.
Yeah. You still have yours?
Yeah, actually, I wore it earlier today.
Oh, look. Yeah. No.
It's just a fun grab and go, especially when it's
has
bleak
been
and snowy inside.
This is like, I wear this one. I put this one on at night because of the backlight. So I can see what time my kids are waking me up in the middle of the night. And a lot of times I just don't take it off in the morning, just keep wearing it.
Yeah, I think my smallest watch is probably like a 36, and that might be, just happen to have it here, Notice Unity. Or it's 36 and a half.
I think I'm down. I maybe I have like 38.
I have a vintage Timex that might be 34 or 36. It's tiny. I can't get it on my wrist.
Yeah, I haven't.
I can't go any lower than 38 really. With an 8.5-inch wrist, it starts to look like I'm wearing a child's watch.
Yeah, this is the Alpinist is a 38.
Yeah.
Oh,
And
no.
a lot of it, I think, depends on the design too. Like a diver that small to me is kind of too small, or a chronograph that small might be kind of small because you can't read the subdials. But then you get something nice, clean three-hander. That's good.
Yeah, I have a 43 millimeter deck watch, and deck watches are all dial.
Yeah,
and it looks ginormous. It looks huge, which is fine for me. But I think if you had under an 8-inch wrist, you probably would have a hard time with it.
Yeah. Okay. High accuracy HAQs, high accuracy quartz. Yeah. What do you think about luxury HAQ watches? What would your ideal Casio Oceanus look like? I think this is one for Shane right here.
Yeah, I like high accuracy quartz watches. I have a couple, maybe not luxury ones, but I have a couple. Like at my Longines VHP GMT, the Bulova Precisionist. I'm good. I like them a lot. I'm kind of interested in maybe getting a Chronomaster too. It's the trick with those is sometimes maybe if you're comparing it to being an automatic that's expensive, is going to be whether you're wearing it, how long you're going to get out of it. Because sometimes people always say automatic, you can easily repair it, whereas a quartz watch, once the movement's dead, it's dead. But I think a good high-end quartz watch will still last like 20, 30 years. So I guess it kind of depends if you're thinking of it for yourself, or if you're thinking of it as kind of a generational thing to pass down. Because I mean, I was looking on eBay and you can still find a lot of Omega quartz watches. And in some ways, that's kind of a good way to get into like an Omega or even Grand Seiko, like things at the 9F, I think it's their quartz movement, it's a lot cheaper than the automatic or the spring drive movement. And if you want to kind of just get a taste of that quality, it might be a great way to do it. And I think some of those will be serviceable. It just depends, like 20 years from now, 25 years from now, are they going to have those parts or not? But you could say the same thing about a specialty automatic movement too.
I put it this way to answer the question. I have a Belova with the ultra high frequency smooth sweep.
Yeah.
When we have time change here in Canada, so every 6 months or whatever it is, you change the time, and it gains about 6 seconds over 6 months. So, and it has a smooth sweep. It looks mechanical. It's thin. It's great. I'd probably have 8 out of 10 watches with that movement over mechanical if that was more available.
Yeah.
So I love it. Luxury high end. Well, I think luxury high end, now you're really paying for that feeling, that, and then mechanical, I think, becomes a little more important in that aspect, in that arena.
Oh, the one thing to think about with that too is service costs over the time too. I mean, like a good quartz Seiko, Grand Seiko, you probably won't need to get serviced, or maybe after 20 years or so, versus, an automatic Grand Seiko, I don't know, was it like 7 years, maybe 10 years? And that's going to be probably like $1,000 every time. So I don't know. Because I had one person comment me a while ago saying that they were all into automatics, like their luxury collection, until they had to have multiple ones serviced in the same year. And at that point, they started shifting over to some more quartz watches.
Yeah, that would really change perspectives, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Does anybody want to confess?
I don't even know.
How many watches do you have in your collection?
I've talked.
I don't know. Yeah,
I think it's under 60.
I'm probably still over 1/3. Maybe 120.
Here's a real question. What is a watch in your collection, really? I mean,
I did a whole video on that.
Yeah, exactly, right?
I had my core collection video.
If you talk about watches that I have in the house, it's probably around 60 or so. And I just sold a bunch too. Yeah, I've tried not to keep that many in the house, but they just keep coming back.
Yeah.
But as far as like ones that I would consider my personal collection, I'm trying to limit that to around 12. It's like, that's my goal. I haven't picked which 12 that's going to be, but that's sort of what I want it to be, somewhere around there. So I always look at it like, okay, if I was going to stop having a watch review channel and just get out of it and keep a collection of watches for myself, because obviously the reason I have so many watches is because I'm reviewing them and because I want to have comparisons, and they're not necessarily watches that I like. They're ones that I think are useful for making videos about.
Yeah.
So if I was going to get out, I would probably want to narrow it down to around 12 or so and be happy with that and just rotate through those ones.
Yeah, I got a 24 slot watch box. So
that's good.
That's
fill that up. Yeah. So 24 is fine.
I think I could get down to 12, but then I'd have to have this bracket for unlimited amount of G-Shocks.
Right. Yeah. Those don't count. Yeah. No,
right?
Casio
those don't count.
And
cheap Casios stuff like that.
Yeah, that's like, right now they're cheaper than a Big Mac meal in America, I hear, right? Big Mac meals are shooting
depends
up.
on the state.
Okay.
So like California or Portland, that's like $18 for a Big Mac meal.
Yeah, because here in Japan, and like when I first moved to Japan, McDonald's was more expensive than California.
Yeah.
But now here in Japan, you can still get a Big Mac meal for about $6-7
Oh wow, that's
USD. Yeah.
Even in Texas, it's like $12.
McDonald's is dirt cheap here. And so here, another hint, if you ever come to Japan, if you go to McDonald's in the evening for like an extra $1 per patty, they'll double your meat.
Okay.
So you can get
like In-N-Out.
You can get a quadruple Big Mac for like $2 more than a normal Big Mac. It's a great deal. You guys come to Japan, come to McDonald's.
I wouldn't leave the bathroom for 6 days after that.
No, that's my son. He's 12 years old. He gets a quadruple because he gets the double cheeseburger. It turns into a quadruple cheeseburger. And I think it's like $5 for a quadruple cheeseburger from McDonald's.
Yeah. So it's just a sign you're getting older. Talking to my wife about that, is just walking around like looking at restaurants like, remember when that used to be this? It's like Taco Bell. How much was a taco back when we were in high school?
Yeah, we're getting old. Well, no, it's weird for me because I go back to the US every 2 years or something. And I'm like, what is going on in the last 2 years? So we'll be going back this summer, the first time in a while. See how expensive McDonald's is. But no, my kids are all looking forward to Del Taco and Taco. Well, mostly Del Taco, Taco Bell. We don't get any Mexican food here, so
Yeah,
it's
Del
funny.
Taco,
They
you
watch.
can get French fries with your taco.
Yeah, they watch a lot of American movies and American YouTube, so they're all into Taco Tuesday, which is not a thing here in Japan. They don't have tacos anywhere, so they just can't wait to go to Taco Tuesday when we go back to the States this summer. It's second part of the question. Ideal Casio Oceanus, Shane. You've gotten through a couple of those, right?
I would say like the Manta one I have, which is like the S5000, or kind of like that.
That is
sort of
your
design.
ideal?
Well, something like that, but maybe instead of the three sub dials, make it like a bi-compact, 2 sub dials. Make it a little bit cleaner. That's what I'd say.
Okay.
Because it is a bit chaotic, although in some ways it's kind of part of the coolness of it. But
yeah, I don't know what my ideal Oceanus would be like. Like, I like the idea of so my ideal watch in general is I would like a watch with a date, with an ability to time things, and a second time zone. Like, if I get to watch all three of those functions, that's like my ideal watch, because those are the three functions that I use in addition to telling time more than anything. So if you could find a clean way to lay that out, then I'm happy, which actually is like my favorite implementation of all those features. That's one of the reasons I got this one right here. Like, why I love 12-hour bezels, because, like, especially this one, it's a 12-hour bezel, but it's got individual minute markers, so you can easily use this bezel as a timer. You just move that over there, and now I'm timing things. And you already know that 1 is 5 minutes, 2 is 10 minutes, or whatever. So it's not that hard to track timings with that. But then you can remember to, put it back to where it was for your time zone offset. You can use it for that. I've got date on there, time, everything. And this is like a super cheap way to get all of those features. You don't need a special movement or anything. You can have standard movement, just a bezel like this, and it gives you all that. And then just have a movement with a date, and you're there. So I'm pretty happy with that. Okay, I'm still going through the YouTube ones. Let's go back over to the chat, see if any other questions have come through. Have you guys seen any other good? A lot of comments here. We got a pretty good group. Still keeping strong at around close to 100 people. Thanks for stopping by, everybody. I know we haven't done this in a while. What else do we got here? We should probably wrap this up. I thought we were going to go for about an hour, but we're getting close to an hour and a half. Okay, here's the latest one. Wise 87 Damascus steel or the 8015 gold celebration dial? Which would you choose? So I just sold the Damascus steel one. I still have the celebration dial here.
I think I'd go the same way. I've debated selling the Damascus steel one, but there's just a lot more unique about the 8015 celebration one.
One thing that's fun about Wise is their packaging. Like, for a $700 watch,
best packaging I've seen.
Feel like you're getting a luxury watch. Let's see if we can move all this out of the way.
Although I really want to see the new GMT they have coming.
Yeah, that's the one I'm most interested in too. That looks super cool.
Yeah.
Reminds me a lot of like something I would expect out of Grand Seiko.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I'm usually not a fan of gold watches either, but I actually really like that 8015.
See if we can get a good look at it there.
Yeah.
I think this is what he's talking about. Yeah, so gold dial, so actual 24 karat gold filled dial. Which again, getting, any amount of precious metals in a sub $1,000 watch is pretty cool. Yeah, the only thing I don't like about this one is that it is hard to read. The indexes can get lost pretty easily.
Depending on the lighting, yeah.
Yeah. But the lume is great as usual from Wise. Way better than you would expect on a dress watch.
It's a good looking watch though, and it's unique, which I like.
Yeah, very thin too.
Mm.
But yeah, so that's the thing. Like, I think I liked I like the design of the Damascus steel one better, just kind of more of a classic sports watch versus dress
Well,
watch.
it's
A
more
little
of an
bit more versatile.
Aquaterra.
Yeah, which I like.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess that would be the main thing is if you're looking for a dress watch, this is a really cool dress watch, but I think it only has 50 meters of water resistance, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, I don't remember.
Let me check.
I think so.
Yeah, 50 meters of water resistance. That's cool that they did the gold movement too.
Mm.
That was a nice touch. So yeah, it's a really cool watch, but it's definitely more of a dress watch than a
Everyday watch.
So I think that would be the main consideration I'd have if you're looking for something that you want to wear every day versus a dress watch. Oh, I'm still sorry, guys. I'm still soloed. There you guys are. Okay, what else we got? Fans of countdown bezels?
Like diver time bezels, or
I think he means the opposite one, right? The one that you set in, it tells you how many minutes you have left versus how many minutes have elapsed. So like you
I
can
have
set
one called the
I have,
Parking Master, and it was pretty cool actually.
yeah, like I'm trying to think. So the
it was designed for actually measuring your parking.
right,
Very specific.
This one, the Notice, the normal ones have countdown bezels.
okay.
So a countdown bezel would have the markings backwards. So basically you instead of lining it up with the pip, you would line up like if you wanted to set a 30-minute timer, you would line the 30 up with the minute, and then the minute would point to it would count down to the pip. So it would get down to the 12 o'clock pip, and that would be 0. So if you look at it, it tells you, oh, there's 15 minutes left instead of 15 minutes have passed.
Okay.
So they're handy. I like them. Yeah, I think they're a little bit more of a specific thing. You can, if you have an elapsed time one, you do the math in your head and you can figure out your countdown time, right? So I think they're a little bit more versatile at elapsed time, but I do like the countdown bezels too. They're useful in a pinch. Pip is a funny word. It is a funny word. I don't know. Okay. Anybody got the new Revlon GMT coming in?
Did
you get that one, Shane?
The new Admiral GMT, because it's not new. It's like a new colorway of, if I remember right, it's a new colorway of the older Admiral GMT, which is a really cool watch. But I think he's doing like a black PVD coating on it. Asked me to do it, but I got too much going on my plate right now. But Revlon, I mean, if it's just like the original one, I really liked it for being just cool and different. That was the one that kind of, the loom made it look like it was a radar screen.
Yeah.
I was inspired by like sailing vessels, Navy ships.
Okay, here's a good question. AT asks, buying too many affordable cheap watches or waiting to buy entry-level watch? I guess it's like, which is better, or what are you guys' thoughts on that?
That's always the debate.
Yeah.
In some ways, I would say it's your own journey. You got to figure it out for yourself. Yeah. But a lot of it is, you need to figure out, part of watch collecting is figuring out what you like. And the only way to know that is to get more of it on your wrist. So that's the trickiness of it is, if you just buy something, and part of it is if you're buying it just because everybody says this is the greatest watch ever and you haven't really tried anything else, is it?
Yeah. Yeah, I think for me, for me, the biggest question is just like, is an entry-level luxury watch something that I really actually want? And for me, there's a couple of considerations. One, my profession, I'm a missionary pastor over here, and the idea of clergy wearing expensive watches, I think, is a turnoff to a lot of people. And I don't know, there's the whole wear what you love kind of thing and don't worry about what other people think, but I am self-conscious about that. So I would be a little nervous about that. And I don't know. I think that's maybe Japan is even more, people tend to notice things like that and have opinions about that. So I'm maybe a little bit more hesitant even living here in Japan versus the States. That would be one. Maybe the more important one is that I'm kind of clumsy. And like, so since I've started wearing watches, I think I have severely damaged maybe 3 watches. Okay. In the last 5 years. So if I had like one luxury watch and I was wearing that like all the time, that means that there's like 100% chance I would have significantly damaged that watch. And if it was, if I spent $5,000 on a watch and I damaged it like that, that would be a really hard thing for me to take. And just realizing that, it's like, I feel a lot more comfortable spreading, not having all my eggs in one basket. If I have, 4 $500 watches versus one $2,000 watch, for instance, that's math adds up, right? And I wreck one of the $500 watches, I've just got still got 3 other great watches I can put on, and and I'll still be not totally devastated. And so that's like one thing that's me now. It's like I don't even want to deal with having that expensive of a watch because I'd be so scared of breaking it because I'm I don't know if it's I have kids or if I'm just clumsy or what, but yeah, I've so what, like one watch, I banged it against a brick wall, just walking and brushed up against a brick wall. Another one, the most recent one, I was playing soccer with my kid in the park in the driveway, and I tripped and banged it on the ground. And the other one, what we at our church, we have these super narrow, steep staircase, and I slipped and fell down the whole flight of stairs. And I was wearing a Seiko watch with a metal bracelet, and it got caught, and the bracelet got mangled, and everything got scraped my arm up really good. So yeah, so that's in the last 5 years, I've had 3 watch accidents. And again, if it's like, the idea would be, oh, you buy a luxury watch and that's the only watch you wear because it's this great one watch and it's your favorite one. But if I were doing that, then I would have destroyed it 3 times in the last 5 years. So that's my take on luxury watches now, where I'm currently at. So but I think there's a difference between, like a $500 watch is still something to save up for. And if you're buying, a bunch of Casios, or if you're buying a bunch of Pagani designs and never getting there, I think early on, it's good to buy a lot of cheap watches and figure out what you like. And then once you figure out what you like, then try and save up and kind of grow out of that phase of buying a lot of cheap ones.
Yeah.
Casios don't count though. You can always pick up another $10 Casio, right? $20 Casio.
I don't have much to add. I think you guys covered it. Just, buy what you like, buy what makes you feel happy. And I can tell you that I have $50 watches that make me feel great and $1,500 watches that make me feel great.
Yeah. And the main thing too is kind of like I was saying, learning what you like is sometimes don't pay attention to what everybody else says. Like everybody says you should love a Black Bay because you should love a Black Bay, or the Submariner is the best watch. But if you don't try other watches, do you really know that? And you got to kind of buy what you want, not necessarily what everybody else is saying is great.
And there's different tiers to this, because there's a lot of people who move in very different circles than I do, who would say, oh, a Submariner, that's a very cheap beater watch.
Yeah.
Right.
$6,000. I mean, what did you just go into your couch cushion and pull out some money and go buy that? So it just really depends on your bracket. For me, anything around $1,500, that's kind of grail territory for me. So it depends on who you are and your status, and that's okay.
All right. Okay. So it's getting to be a little bit late. We've been going for about an hour and a half now. I think we're going to go ahead and wrap this up. We still got a lot more questions coming in, and some we didn't even get to. So I don't know. We might need to do
this again.
Yeah, we might need to do another just another Q&A one. This was nice and easy because we didn't have to do a lot of prep for this one, but this was fun. Any closing thoughts from you guys? Any final thoughts in the chat as well? Thank you everybody who stopped by today. But what do you guys got going on with your channel, or anything else you want to talk about before we shut down?
Just really glad to be with you guys, to hang out with you, and see so many people in the chat that I know and talk to is a lot of fun. So thanks everybody for showing up, and thanks to you guys for being awesome as always.
Yeah, and
Hey.
if anybody doesn't know, Alton is at Half Past Blog, so make sure you check out. He's on YouTube and Instagram. Are you more of a YouTuber or an Instagrammer, Alton? Which
I gave up
kind of
on-
influencer are you?
I'm not, but I gave up on Instagram. I'll post here and there, but
Okay.
the
More
algorithm-
focusing on the
it's
YouTube
the
lately.
point. There's 30 people seeing it. So YouTube almost once a week, getting a video out, small channel,
Alright.
but I think putting out good content, I hope, and informative content. So if you like affordable watches and a variety of watches, check me out.
Yeah, I've yet to
Alright.
figure out how to crack the Instagram. Well, I can't. I'm still having
Yeah.
trouble cracking the YouTube code, but like
Right.
Instagram's like it seems like a lot harder.
I know how to crack Instagram. I just don't have the right build for it.
Well,
I have the right
yeah.
Tinder, so
Like
Yeah, well, I
reels.
mean, yeah, I met Alton on Instagram. I started following him, and he started posting all these watches
Yeah.
that are all like every watch that I wanted, he had. And so I started following him on Instagram. That's how we got connected.
I kind of miss
Nice.
that community. I used to talk to so many people around the world on Instagram daily, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, Instagram's cool. But yeah, I still post mostly on YouTube then.
Mhm. I'd like to do more on Instagram, but it's just I got priorities. Try focusing more on the videos.
Yeah. I think yeah, so yeah, one thing that I'm trying, we'll see how far I got, but I've been trying to build out the website. So justthewatch.com. So that used to I still sell the hoodies and t-shirts and stuff there. You can go there for that. But I'm starting to post some written reviews. So a lot of them so far are just written versions of video reviews that I've done. But if you guys prefer to read rather than watch videos, or if you're in a place where you can't watch a video, you can check out justthewatch.com and get some content there. I'm hopefully it's a time thing, but hopefully I'll start writing some stuff specifically for that, so there'll be a little bit of different content there. But I'm just getting it going. But if you guys want to check out justthewatch.com and see how that's is, I would appreciate that as well. All right, I think that's going to wrap it up for tonight. Again, thank you guys all for stopping by, and yeah, well, maybe we'll have to do another one of these again and do some more Q&As, because yeah, a lot of great questions. This was fun.
Yeah, missed a lot.
Yeah.
But yeah.
All right, we'll see you guys all later.
Thanks for watching.
Yeah.
Bye.